welcome to your online Regents prep training for integrated algebra. We are currently at the e-learning homepage. This is the URL that you and your students will be using to get to our online learning platform. It is elearning.rcsdk12.org, and it will be added to your favorites hopefully shortly. So it should also be in the favorites under e-learning. And you'll see here at our homepage, we have a little bit about RCSD e-learning, what's going on, programs that we offer, things like that. But we also have this great resources for students. We're using this as like a student portal. Students are going to be able to get to their courses from home and have access to hot buttons that they would use at home as well, parent portal, their email, and so forth. So this is the landing page we want both students and staff to go to get to the e-learning environment. You'll see that we have two quick login links here. They both go to the same place, doesn't matter. So you're going to click login to e-learning, and you will go ahead and log in. Your students will log in using the last 6 digits of their ID number and their first initial of their first name, first initial of their last name, and the full year that they were born. You will be using your employee ID number or password as your password, and we'll show you from the teacher side how to change your password for the program. This is the student dashboard. You'll see here we have a due soon pane. This is a Regents prep course, so we didn't put any due dates. We want students to have the flexibility to navigate around the course at their own freedom. So we didn't put any due dates in there. As students start using this for other courses, or if they're loaded into any credit recovery courses, they will see some due soon items over here, and it's a nice reminder for them, what's coming up or what's overdue. This announcement section is great. As a teacher of an online Regents prep course, you're able to post announcements to your whole class or to individual students. So you could do little friendly reminders, your Regents exam is on this date, so forth. It's a great little way to kind of have something important pop up to your kids in case that you don't see them every day and they're logging on at home or something like that. So here's this the My Courses menu. You'll see this students loaded into Regents Prep Integrated Algebra, and you'll see that it's obviously the training course. Your course won't say training at the end. There are 4 hot links for students. The first is to actually view and go through the course. The second is their gradebook. The third, I'm not sure how much they'll use, but it takes them to the objectives of the course and how well they're doing on those objectives overall. And the last is their activity in the course. It'll show how much time they've spent on each individual activity. And this is a great way for you to monitor how much effort your students are putting into certain units and so forth in the course. So we're going to go ahead and click on View. When you click View, it's going to take you right into your coursework, and this is the interface. On the left-hand side is your course navigation. And again, students have the freedom to be able to jump to areas that they would like to concentrate their focus on. So if you're very strong at numbers, operations, and properties, maybe that is not the best place for you to start if you could use some additional practice on trig. So the course does allow students to kind of choose their own adventure, as you will, here. So the course overview, again, we have this topic breakdown, and within each one of these topics, there's a pre-assessment and lessons that go along with the pre-assessment. We highly recommend that students go to the pre-assessment and actually take the pre-assessment, because the pre-assessment is going to dictate which of these lessons are necessary for that student. So if I take this assessment, I do really well on finding the complements of sets, this lesson will go away. And I maybe only have to complete 3 or 4 of these lessons instead of all 5. So if the student takes the pre-assessment based on their performance on the pre-assessment, they will get the lessons that they should focus on, and then they have a wrap-up assessment that goes with it. So that's the overview of how each topic breaks down. Each topic goes the same way. For graphs and stats, we actually have graph paper and number lines for you to print or students to print if you're in a lab room and they can, so that they can actually do the graphing and so forth by hand. But you'll see graphs and stats, and then there's a lesson that corresponds with each one of those standards. But when I take this assessment, depending on how well I do, will dictate which ones of these lessons I should really focus on. Okay? At the end of the course, we have a 20-day review, which breaks down 20 days worth of questions. They're multiple choice questions, and they are short answer questions. They're on specific topics. So this is operations with polynomials and transforming formulas. Okay, so these are key topics. These are topics that the math department has found to be very popular topics within the last couple of Regents exams. So these are definitely areas of focus. You may choose to use these as bell work with your kids. You may choose to just project it and go through as a whole class. It's here for you and your students to use in whichever way you find fit for your classroom. Okay, and again, these questions are the same. They're designed the same way that the ones in the pre-assessments are. They're each aligned to standards, and we're going to kind of look at that now. So I'm going to come back up to the top, and just for today's sake, I'm going to say, well, I'd like to focus on numbers, operations, and properties. I click on my assessment. It gives me a little overview. So here's the quick topics in this assessment. Gives the kids an idea of what's going to be covered. Here we have a tutorial video for using and entering expressions and equations into your short responses. If you would like your kids, they're typing, so it kind of goes over how to use the equation editor, if you will, in Brain Honey, and it works very similar to equation editor. So it's a little video. They can access it
your free response
as they go through. So here, and then it would be this button here.
Insert edit equation.
If you're familiar with equation editor, which most of us math teachers are, you should be fine with helping your kids navigate through that. But that video tutorial is accessible throughout the assessment for them as well. So if I go ahead and click Start, it's going to ask me if I want to start now. I say yes. As this loads, I'm going to just snap this into the side so that I just see my window, and that's that little arrow here. And here you go. So this is the standard. Here's the question, and then I answer my question. So don't judge me. I'm really just going to guess on these questions. And you'll see here's a short answer question. So if we were listing the complement of a set, you would put this in here, and then you would actually type in the students here. So again, I'm just typing in some numbers. Please don't judge. But if they were using the equation editor, that would be this button here, and it opens up this window where you have the ability to insert a symbol. Works just like equation editor. So I'm just going to keep guessing just to get us through. Okay, so when the kid is done, I just want to point out two things. If they need the directions again, that's where that video tutorial is going to pop back up for the kid to access, the student to access the directions for the equation editor if they need it. And then I'm just going to click Submit, and I'm going to say yes. So it says, are you sure you want to leave the page? I'm going to say yes. And now I get this great pop-up that says, I have demonstrated mastery on some of the learning material in this course. I have now been excused from these items and they have been hidden. So my guessing was very good, and I promise I was just guessing. And it says to view the excused items, you would say show excuse. But what's happening here is now if you look over here, we had 5 lessons in this assessment. I now only have 4 because I have mastered one of those standards, and it looks like I mastered AN6 out of all of the standards. So the program is saying, well, you did really well in AN6, so you don't need to relearn that, but you should really focus on finding the complements of sets, intersection, properties of real numbers, and elements in a set. Okay. So this is the student side. Now the student could go ahead and start learning if they wanted to, but there were a few free response questions, and from the teacher side, you have to grade those free response questions before these are officially the lessons that I'm assigned. Maybe I did a free response question for AN1 and I did it correct. If you give them credit for that, maybe this lesson will go away. So I'm going to quick show you what that looks like on the teacher side. So I'm going to press pause on the student side. I'm going to go ahead and click log out. And I'm going to log in as my teacher of this particular course.